Welcome to the Folk School on Willow Creek, featuring University Distinguished Professor Tom Easern singing and telling stories from the Salon on Willow Creek.
I need a bed for the night, boys, and my horses need hay. I've been riding that grove line on the hot dish highway. Tenting tonight on the old campground. Give us a song to cheer our weary hearts, a song of home, friends we love so dear. Many are the hearts that are weary tonight, wishing for the war to cease. Many are the hearts looking for light, to see the dawn of peace. Tenting tonight, tenting tonight, tenting on the old campground. Welcome to Willow Creek Folk School number 120.
120.
Yeah, tonight, which happens to be Veterans Day 2022 this year. And so we're tenting tonight on the old campground, that great old Civil War standard. A little bit about that song, beloved Civil War song, and beloved Civil War veterans, of course. And it's a song about war weariness. It originated, when the war was well in progress. And the author was a fellow named Walter Kittredge, who might have been drafted and fought in that war, except he had a rheumatic fever. And he also sang in what I think has to be the most popular singing group. And it's a folk singing group, the Hutchinson Family Singers, in the 1840s, 1850s, and 1860s. He sang in the Hutchinson Family Singers, and they had two performing ensembles, and this song he wrote for one of them to sing, Tenting on the Old Campground. Well, it struck a million chords and a million hearts in the latter years of the war as it dragged on. And then, after the war, when the veterans, after some years, gave up singing the old rousing anthems, John Brown's Body and others that were meant to rally the troops, they turned to these more sober reflections, and tenting tonight on the old campground became a standard of gatherings of the Grand Army of the Republic, the Union Veterans Organization. And then came another thing. We get late in the 19th century and into the early years of the 20th century. And the old veterans are indeed old. They're long in the tooth. But they're still marching in the parades. They're still turning out at the memorials. And they're still very self-conscious in their identity as saviors of the Union. One of them was a man named F.A. Wardwell, Frank Wardwell, a member of the Grand Army of the Republic. He was in the Navy, actually. I think I know what vessel he served on. What was that? It was... should have sorted out my notes a little better. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Wardwell. Here he is in the 1890 veteran schedule of the U.S. Census. And he's living in Pembina, North Dakota. And he served, enlisting in 1864, and he served on the vessel Tuscarora. And I have no idea what nature of vessel that was. So he's a naval veteran. He served several years in the Navy in the latter years of the war and immediately after. Came home, became active in the GAR, and was probably, he was like the dean of small town newspapers in the late 19th century, early 20th century on the Northern Plains. Ward well. Well, he did his own take, adapted the song Tinting Tonight for his generation. And so as I thought about this, I thought, oh yeah, he's one of those old soldiers. Because I'm talking about a composition of his in 1913. Oh yeah, he's one of those guys who are just hobbling along in the parade, and then I realized, oh wait a minute, that's basically the Civil War soldiers in 1913 were basically at the age, the cohort that Vietnam vets would be in American life today. Oh wait a minute, see, that's my generation. Yeah, okay, well, so he's not so old after all. But he's thinking that way. And he's thinking about those who have gone before. And I decided, and I found his text from a veterans gathering in 1913. And it's headed like this: Waiting Tonight, not Tinting Tonight, but Waiting Tonight. Original poem rendered to the tune of Tinting Tonight. F.A. Wardwell, one of the members of the GAR, wrote the poem, which was rendered to the tune of Tinting Tonight at the memorial services which took place last Friday, and it was greatly enjoyed by the audience at the meeting, and it was admired by those present, and several of the GAR members asked to have the poem printed, and that's why we have it now. We're thinking tonight of the old campgrounds of 50 years ago, of the weary march and the songs of home and friends we used to know. Many are the hearts that are thinking tonight, thinking of the long ago. Many are the hearts that are sorrowing tonight for boys we used to know. Sleeping tonight, lying in their tent like mound. We're thinking tonight of the old campgrounds. We're thinking of the days gone by, thinking of those boys that never came home, and the tears that said goodbye. Many of those boys are sleeping tonight, lying in their tent like mounds. Sleeping in peace, they are listening for the morn, when the heavenly reveille sounds. Sleeping tonight, lying in their last campground. We are weary tonight, and listen for the sound of the bugle call so slow, waiting rest in the last campground, when goodnight taps shall blow. Many are the hearts that are weary tonight, waiting for the call to sound. Many are the hearts that are weary tonight, marching to the last campground. Weary tonight, marching to the last campground. We are nearing tonight our last campground, where the comrades all shall meet. Looking up the great campground, our captain there to greet. Many are the hearts that are waiting tonight, waiting for the end to come. Many are the hearts waiting for tonight, waiting for the end to come. Looking tonight, waiting tonight, listening for the call, come home. Well, thanks to Mr. Wardwell for your service and for your song. Veterans Day today, it happens to be also what would be the birthday of our old friend Robert Wood.
Yes.
True friend of mine, great friend of NDSU Press also.
Yes, I think maybe it was 2 years, possibly 3, that he volunteered with the press.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say too that he made an impact as a political science teacher. And there is now some sort of fellowship. I thought it was called.
There's a faculty fellowship funded in his name.
Yeah, in his name. So that's a terrific remembrance.
Yeah.
A big statement about how he made an impact on someone's life.
A lot of people. He was not exactly a cream puff in the classroom, you know.
How tall was he?
Oh, he's about 6'5".
Yeah, 6'5", not slender.
No, not a small guy.
That's, no. So he had a presence and a loud voice.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, I'm missing.
Glad to be remembering him though.
Some good material here yet ahead on the folk school tonight. As often is the case, what is coming up next? Oh yes, the Last Longhorn. We're gonna put a song into the song bag tonight. Okay, this is this ritual. Most every week, we've got some song that we've been messing around with the past couple of years, finding a little bit more about it, a little bit more. Eventually, I get around. I think, hey, I think I've got the earliest text, or maybe the best text anybody ever found on this thing. And look at these new details about it. And we're going to write this up. And for those of you who are in the scholarly trade, what we're talking about is canonizing these songs, bringing them back and setting them shoulder to shoulder as representative of the folk literature of the Great Plains. And so tonight we have one that's always been known as the Last Longhorn. But I'm retitling, in accordance with the texts that we found, the Lay of the Last Longhorn. And what the heck is that? You know, that means a song. The ballad, the lament, the Lay of the Last Longhorn. The last words of the Last Longhorn, in other words. And I've labeled it a Ballad of Progress, ambivalent word that, on the Western Range, by a man named John Wesley. Can you tell us something about the provenance of the Lay of the Last Longhorn, Dr. K?
I can. The author, or rather the adapter, of the Last Longhorn was an old settler of Ford County, Texas, named John Wesley. He was a Civil War veteran from New York. It appears he penned his stanzas in 1899, by which time he and his wife Mary had made the transition from ranching to farming in the Pease River country, founded a town, ran a store, and had 8 kids. He had become the very Nestor that the talking steer in his ballad would blame for his demise. Indeed, Wesley wrote the Lay of the Last Longhorn as a poem to be read at a meeting of the local literary society. The poem would not acquire its current melody until cowboy singer Carl T. Sprague would record it in 1929. The song circulated in West Texas, getting a boost from the jurist and versifier R. Walker Hall of Vernon, who sometimes is erroneously credited as author of The Last Longhorn. He was responsible for a print version published by the International Livestock Exposition Company, Chicago, in 1901. At about the same time, the song appeared, with no note as to provenance, in a newspaper in the Kansas Gypsum Hills, the Kiowa County Signal. The Kiowa County version, as the earliest accessible text, is the one presented here tonight. A notable and obvious antecedent for the Last Longhorn is the well-known poem Bingen on the Rhine, written by the English poet Caroline Norton sometime before 1850. A soldier of the Legion lay dying in Algiers. There was lack of woman's nursing. There was dearth of woman's tears. A comrade stood beside him while his lifeblood ebbed away, and bent with pitying glances to hear what he might say. Bingen was set to music and popularized in mid-19th century by the Hutchinson family singers. In 1883, an American publisher brought out a deluxe folio edition of Norton's poem. Thus, it is no surprise that Mr. Wesley in West Texas would be familiar with and appropriate it.
And there was those Hutchinson family singers again. They're more important than I realized, I believe. Okay, some of the context of the song.
A perusal of newspapers and periodicals of the turn of the 20th century discloses a preoccupation with the last things of the passing frontier. Languishing bison, the end of the open range, and the disappearance of longhorns. The rhetoric associated with such passings blended the sentimental nostalgia of the Gilded Age with the positivism of the progressive era. It was possible to mourn the passing of prized things, while at the same time cheering the very progress that destroyed them. Such mixed feelings are certainly present in The Last Longhorn, with progress obtaining in the end. At the very time of the origination of the song, a longhorn steer named Geronimo from Live Oak County, Texas, achieved considerable fame, being shown at livestock shows across the country. 36 years old, Geronimo boasted a horn spread of 9 feet 6 inches. Geronimo is almost the last of the type of longhorn Texas cattle in this country, reads one press report. The cattle are vanishing before the onward movement of the blooded stock from the north and east.
An ancient longhorn bovine lay dying by the river. There was lack of vegetation, and the cold winds they did shiver. Cowboy sat beside him, with sadness on his face, to see his final passing, the last of a noble race. Now the ancient eunuch struggled and raised his shaking head, saying, I do not care to linger when all my friends are dead. These Jerseys and these Holsteins, they are no friends of mine.
Am I supposed to moo or what? I don't know.
You're supposed to be following your scripts.
Oh,
Jerseys and these Holsteins, they are no friends of mine.
The old steer specifically names 2 dairy breeds, Jerseys and Holsteins, cattle kept by farmers, not ranchers, as no friends of his. The talking steer has no dying words to share with such beasts.
These Jerseys and these Holsteins, they are no friends of mine. They belong to the nobility who never crossed the brine. Till the Durhams and the Herefords, when they come a grazing round,
Here, the old steer addresses his fellow beef cattle, Durhams, a type of shorthorn, and Herefords. With them, he feels a bit more kinship, thinking they might be inclined to mourn his passing, and is moved to boast a bit to them of his lineage.
Those Durhams and the Herefords, when they come a-grazing round, and see me lying stark and stiff upon the frozen ground, I don't want them to bellow when they see that I am dead, for I was born in Texas, near the river that is red. Tell the coyotes when they come at night, I'm hunting for their prey. Well, they might as well go farther, for they'll find it will not pay. If they attempt to eat me, they very soon will see. My bones and hide are petrified, they'll find no beef on me. I remember in the 80s, some 20 summers past, there was grass and water aplenty, but it was too good to last. I little dreamed what would transpire some 20 seasons hence, when the nester came with his wife and his kid and his dog and his barbed wire fence. Sank to a murmur, his breath came short and quick. The cowboy tried to skin him when he saw that he couldn't kick. He rubbed his knife upon his boot until he made it shine, but he never skinned that longhorn, 'cause he just couldn't cut the rind. Now the cowboy rose up sadly and mounted his cayuse, saying time has come when longhorns and their cowboys are no use.
An interesting use of the possessive, longhorns and their cowboys. Shorthorns, Herefords, ranching, and cowboys will continue, but not cowboys who belong with longhorns. They will pass with their beasts.
And while gazing sadly backward upon the dead bovine, well, his bronc stepped in a doghole and fell and broke his spine.
This development is key evidence that the lay of the Last Longhorn is a song of progress, not mere nostalgia. Those who dwell upon the past, gazing sadly backward, come to a bad end.
Now the cowboys and the longhorns who frisked in '84 have gone with their last roundup over on the other shore. They answered well their purpose, but their glory's fading fast, and soon they'll only be known as good things of the past. The Last Longhorn. Into the song bag with that one. It'll come back sometime. We're done with it for the moment. You know, it may be not a surprise that Dr. K is asleep at the podium over here tonight, since I don't believe she slept last night.
I did not.
What are you working on?
Deadline for a book that we're working on that I needed to get materials to the designer today, which I did just about 2 minutes before stepping up here to the program tonight. But this is for a really good book. It's called in order that justice may be done. The legal struggle of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa, sorry. So this is a scholarly work and traces the legal activities and ramifications of things that happened in the late 1800s, early 1900s. It's quite a title. That's a lot of words to fit on the front of a page, but front of a cover. But our designer Jamie has done it again, so I'll be sharing that cover design pretty soon too.
Anything else happening with the press lately?
That's all I've been thinking of. However, yesterday I attended a conference of university housing professionals. I can't remember the acronym, but it's people who work with student dorms. And one of our authors, Prakash Matthew, has an award-winning book. It's our first time we published a leadership work, and he was the keynote speaker there. So we sold well over $500 worth of his book in about an hour and a half yesterday.
Moved some books.
Yes.
It's a good book, though.
It is. It really is.
Well, congratulations again to Prakash.
Yeah.
Try every week to bring in something that's, Anybody acting up on the chat line this week?
Well, I've hardly had a chance to look, but I see that Sam Johnson is sharing more on the Mudcat Cafe. Is that where you guys got ice cream last time? Was that? No? Well, maybe I'm not following it. I don't know.
We'll check back a little later.
Thanks. There are lots of remarks about people who have served in the military or kin who have done so. Nice place to share that.
Feel free to declare it right here.
Yeah.
I tried every week to bring in a little something that's previously undiscovered. Stuff that hasn't seen the light of day in a long time. Because getting more and more aware, I started out going back, okay, here's a song. Whippy-tie-yi-yo, get along, little doggies. Where did it come from? Let's try to see if we can track that down, given the wonders of digital technology we have today. And sure enough, we were able to track those. A lot of them, traced their hoof prints right back to the headwaters from which they drank. But stumbling around back there, in that country of Great Plains balladry that existed in the 1880s on into around 1920 or so, we find that there are a whole bunch of songs that were out that the song catchers missed, but they were highly current at that time, and some of them great songs. And then going further than that, you find one, and it's attributed to somebody, and then you begin to track that person down and you find, oh, we've got a real balladeer. There are these people who are turning out ballads. And then the interfolk tradition in the region, a century and more ago. Well, here's one of them. A fellow named A.F. Rusk, R-U-S-K. Lived in southwestern Kansas. I first catch him out near Garden City at the little post office community of Pearlette. There's a note that he came into town in July of 1884, and then the first news item about him is it's a notice that a white flea-bitten horse weighs about 800 pounds, branded LV on the shoulder, liberal reward will be given for the return of the horse to A.F. Rusk. Now what's going on is he's out there homesteading in the late 1880s in southwestern Kansas. And he's trying to meet the requirements of federal law for getting a homestead. And eventually he would not do it technically as a homestead, he'd do it as a preemption. And in the meantime, I find him listed here in 1885 several times. His neighbors were coming in to swear to the improvements and to the meeting of the requirements of the Homesteading Act at the land office there in Garden City. And he would come in to swear on behalf and say, yep, it's true. This fellow's been living on the claim for all these several years, and he's made improvements on it. And what he describes about what he's done, raising crops, building fences, and so on, It's all true. And they'd go in and they'd swear for one another that way. Not at one another, maybe occasionally back home, but when they went to the land office, they swore for one another. And so he was a homesteader who was active with his neighbors, helping them get their homesteads. But it turned out he was also an attorney, because then he began to go in to represent people who had difficulties with the government in regard to homesteading. He got married in 1886. Married a fellow, Miss Alice Williamson, who I think came down from near the Oklahoma line down there around Sumner, in that vicinity. And there are other news articles in which he comes up in the local press. Now here's the big ad, though, a display ad. I don't think he actually was an attorney, but he worked with attorneys. So here he is, A.F. Rusk, authorized agent for claimants and contestants in the United States Land Office. Okay, you're having difficulties with the homesteading filing. Who are you going to call? You call A.F. Rusk. And then he brings in his attorney, Robert McCulloch, along with him, 16 years practice in the courts and the United States Land Offices. Office in room number 24, U.S. Land Office Building, Garden City, Kansas. Now this is the guy we're talking about then. He's embedded in this stuff. I found 2 ballads that he wrote. He appears to have written others, but 2 of them show up multiple replications in the regional press. So I'm going to bring in one of those tonight. It's a song called Stealing Land. All right, now it's supposed to be an ironic title. You remember that he's involved in the homesteading business. And by the record, he eventually paid $200 instead of filling out the full residency requirements, and he did a preemption. That means he paid $1.25 an acre for it instead of trying to get the free farm or the formal homestead. But he completed the process that way. And then he turned around and he was in the business trying to help other people do the same. Now, one of the ways then to recruit people was to let them know that he's on their side against the federal officials who might be coming out to check up to see whether they actually built those fences that they swore to, and that sort of thing here. They didn't want the federal agents to be asking questions. They didn't actually want them to show up, right? And so since he wants to be seen to be on side of the farmers, here comes this song called Stealing Land. At the beginning of it, it dates from 1886. In the beginning of it, it mentions when Cleveland's term began. That's President Grover Cleveland, who's a Democrat. And that was a tricky subject right there, because a lot of these guys are Union veterans. They're Republicans. So they're just naturally a little antagonistic against an administration appointed by a Democratic president, including Land Commissioner Sparks, who will be mentioned in this, who I don't believe was a bad land commissioner. It's just that he was on the other side of the desk, you see. Jargon or slang in the thing, Rusk says he filed upon a daisy claim. That doesn't mean it was growing wildflowers all over it. Daisy is in 19th century usage, now anachronistic, meant anything that's really good. So I have a Daisy Labrador Retriever. She's a wonderful bird dog. She's a Daisy. Dr. Kelly bakes a Daisy Juneberry pie. And it appears here in the 21st century, urban slang is bringing this back specifically with reference to a, how do we say this, a comely young woman. She's a daisy. I wouldn't know about that. But that term appears in the song. I don't want it to be confusing. It makes reference to meeting the residency requirement of living on a homestead, of making improvements by planting crops and putting up fences. It makes reference to paying $200 down. That's the preemption function, so you don't have to fill out the full 3-year residency requirement. And it says, into Tannhauser's hand, he pays the $200. Researching that, a man named Tannhauser was the receiver, that is, the cashier, at the Garden City, United States Land Office. Okay, I've gotten into the weeds on this, but it's kind of a interesting proposition that you got a song that's embroiled in the technicalities of the homestead process. And then like the fourth time it appears in the papers, the editor happens to mention the tune to which it be sung, which I believe you'll recognize. I was Kansas settler, oh, when Cleveland's term begun. I stole a claim from Uncle Sam, I'll tell you how 'twas done. Oh, Mr. Sparks, oh, Mr. Sparks, one word into your ear. There are many honest settlers who your rulings do not fear. Well, I filed upon a daisy claim, and I built a house of sod. I dug a well and I built a barn and fenced full many a rod. I lived upon that daisy claim a dozen months or more. I ate and slept there all the time, scarce going beyond the door. 20 acres of crops I raised, millet, corn, and rye. And then I made my final proof and tried that land to buy. I paid $200 down into Tannhauser's hand. But oh, my patent, where is it for that daisy piece of land? Congress passed the law for me and fully I complied. But Sparks, my patent, he suspends and he sets the law aside. And now he says I am a thief and tried that plan to steal. And he will me investigate with energy and steel. Oh, Mr. Sparks, oh, Mr. Sparks, one word into your ear. There are many honest settlers who your rulings do not fear. Sounds like a lot of our legislative candidates these days, right? Just got them spoiling for a fight. Mr. Sparks, Mr. Sparks. That one go too deep in the weeds for you?
Not for me, no.
Well, okay, dork. What other news do we have showing up from our friends online this week?
Oh. Well, Nancy Kelly was in Salina today for the 2022 Food and Farm Conference.
Food and Farm Conference?
Yeah. She mentions Daniel Wildcat and Steve Lerner.
Know those guys, yeah.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right.
You haven't asked what I did this week.
What did you do, Tom?
Well, it's in the freezer. You know, I made the run down to Pier for the annual pheasant hunt with brother Stan and a group from Kansas, Tennessee, and other strange places. And there were a lot of birds, and Angie distinguished herself once again.
She's a good girl.
She's gotten very tired. Poor girl.
She?
Poor girl. Yes, indeed. She's so tired. She wrote a ballad about her adventures in South Dakota, but she was so tired she couldn't stay up to present it herself tonight. And so I've got it for her here, if you allow me to present it on her behalf. Hey, my name is Angie, I'm such a good girl. My dad tells me so every day. He says I'm his favorite, but don't tell my mom, because she can get jealous that way. We're driving to Pier Bismarck in our rear. The view mirror, guess I'll take a nap. I'm dreaming of ringnecks that cackle and crow, and then they fall dead in our lap. At last we're on our way. We're hunting today. I'm tracking the birds through the milo and corn. I hope my dad can keep up, for I get excited when I get the scent, and sometimes I act like a pup. Those roosters, they run, but I wait for the gun. Then I rush in and put them to flight. For all the long day I hunt them this way, and I will sleep soundly tonight. At last we're on our way. We're hunting today. My main job is finding the birds on the ground. I won't let a one get away. They say it's amazing through cattails and corn. I bring every rooster to bay. I cannot explain it, this talent I have, except just to say I suppose. The birds may be wily, but I am smart too, and my brains are most all in my nose. At last we're on our way. We're hunting today. For the deer and the antelope play. Many are the hearts that are weary tonight, wishing for the war to cease. Many are the hearts looking for the right to see the dawn of peace. Now the cowboys and the longhorn, frisked in '84, have gone to their last roundup over on that other shore. Well, they answered well their purpose, but their glory is fading fast. Now they're only good things of the past. Oh, Mr. Sparks, oh, Mr. Sparks, one word into your ear. There are many honest settlers who your ruling do not fear. Many are the hearts that are weary tonight, wishing for the war to cease. Many are the hearts looking for the right to see the dawn of peace. To see the dawn of peace. Dr. Kelly.
We now conclude today's edition of the Folk School on Willow Creek. We invite you to join us again next Friday at 8 p.m. Central Time for more songs and stories.